Hi, I'm Kelsey Denton and I teach communication studies at Green River. I'm also the Learning Outcomes Committee representative for the Humanities Division, and I'm here to talk with you about choosing strong assessments. So an outcome, be it campus, program, or course, provides a roadmap for you in selecting assessments or assignments for your class. When I'm planning a class, the first thing I do is look at what the outcomes are for that course, what the program outcomes are for that course, and what the campus-wide outcomes are for that course. And I use those outcomes to decide what we're going to do in the class itself. So the place to start in choosing and designing your assessments or assignments is with the outcome. So I'm going to look at an outcome that I have for one of my courses and then talk with you about how I use that outcome to choose assignments. So one of the outcomes that I have for a course is that students will demonstrate skills for effectively participating in the interview process. When I look at this outcome, I start by looking at this verb, demonstrate. And I ask myself, how will a student demonstrate something? And in this case, I break it down into three different pieces. So I know that in order for a student to demonstrate, they first have to be able to distinguish between what good interview choices are or poor interview choices are. I also know that they need to be able to predict the outcomes of interview choices so that if they see an interview, they can say, oh, that was a good choice or that was a bad choice. Or if they choose to do something, that they know what the outcome of that choice will be. And then, of course, they need to actually select and use those strong interview skills in a real interview setting in order to demonstrate that they know how they work. So once I have gone through that thought process of what allows for a demonstration, then I can start to design the assignment. In order to do that breaking down of the various pieces, I turn to Bloom's taxonomy. Demonstrating something is really at the highest level of Bloom's taxonomy. They're going to create a presentation in the form of a demonstration, right? They're going to create an interview persona. They're going to conduct or be a part of an interview themselves. Because of that, I know that they need to do some of those lower level skills first. And that's where the distinguishing and prediction come in. When you're looking at an outcome for your course, you can make the same choices. If it's a very high level verb, essentially, it's also a high level skill, but the verb is what allows you to make that distinction, then you know they probably need to do a few things first in order to get to that place. So this is a chart that shows the broken out outcome, right? Distinguish, predict, select, and the assignment that would go with that. So for the first one, a student can show me that they can distinguish between strong skills by comparing two different interviews. A student can predict outcomes of interview choices by reviewing interview videos and defending their prediction of the outcome of that interview based on what they've seen. And then, of course, participating in a mock interview would allow a student to select and use verbal and nonverbal interview skills. And then reflecting on that will tie it all together. So hopefully this helps you see how starting with an outcome can lead to assignments. A strong selection leads to a successful assessment cycle because when you select when you select an assignment that is tied really strongly to an outcome, you can see whether you are accomplishing the content of the course. When you look at student work and you know that that work is deeply tied to the outcome of the course, you can ask yourself the really important question of whether students are successfully learning the content that is dictated in the class. These thought processes and elements of planning are things that you probably are doing already, but they might not be something that you're documenting or that you are spending time cognating out into specific steps. I'd really encourage you to spend the time to do that because it helps you see that outcomes are the roadmap for your course and your assessments. And it helps you see what areas of your classes you're assessing really well. And it helps you see what areas of your classes you might need to really review or redesign. I feel so relieved when I get the outcomes for a class because I know then that I have a plan or a place to start for designing the class. And I hope that as you continue to think about this, that sense of relief and comfort and success comes to you too. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me or ask Julie Moore or ask your LOC representative. We're here to help you. Thanks.